Yeah, you know, I saw it this morning. I was like, yeah.
Good Lord, good Lord, good Lord.
It's funny that you was out of it, right? Like,
good Lord.
When you're just looking at that, the ears kind of. I pulled up that.
Send out the hearts of
I've got wisdom
rings from overhead. The earth below is daily bread. Consider now the miracle of rain that falls into the soil and swells the grave upon the land. It's always been what a imagine everything enshrouded the Pharisee that breaks itself apart to rise and lift the ground up to the stars. Imagine heaven reaching out, a gift poured out from heaven.
100%. A little bit, you know, you could go in person and have a conversation rather than trying to get them to call you. With their service department, and then they would not call you. So that was part of
It's so bad. Like, I went down there and like people camping out with trailers like
and her to gather us into cleaning every fallen remember we'll bloom again and Christ will be our living spring. Fountain welling up inside, it's always been water, 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 water.
those traditions happen, but they're not part of the tradition. You know how valuable like this is. So we finally found one and it got lost. A transmission got lost.
Yeah, easy to do. Easy to do. Happens right.
So they had to find another one.
The excuses, we've given up on even excuses. You guys will use stuff. We all know it doesn't. Not in a million years. Not in all the trying that we just figure out, like, oh yeah, we lost it. I just put a text You know, I'd be crystal clear. I'm not going to say much more than that. I feel like I've made my peace.
Sister Moon, your light shines from heaven, giving glory, all the glory to the Maker. Gentle wind.
Hey, I used to have 6, and I have at that point in time I only had 4 drivers.
Well, I had like 2 different, it's gotten, I think it's beautiful for longer distance because our van, yeah, you have 4 drivers. We just have a 2 of us right now, but,
Good morning, everybody. I just said to Chris, oh, look at all the people here. And I said good morning, and I didn't hear anybody. So sad. Oh, hello. Thanks. It is so good to see you here outdoors in the park in the sunshine. It is good to be back here for the summer. So welcome to the park. And we hope that this will be a meaningful space for all of us this summer to connect and to gather and to be in nature in a space that is different than what we normally are on Sunday mornings. So it was a gift last summer because we hadn't been together at all, but it's a gift this summer because it's something different and something lovely. If you are joining us online, we are glad to have you here as well with us. Know that your presence matters in this space and in this gathering. We have just a couple of things for you to know about. If you didn't get a handout this morning, it has all the words and songs. It was also emailed to you. Sarah Verkijk has it, so if you need a printed out copy, just raise your hand and she will make her way to you to make sure you have all of that. There's also a couple of announcements on the back, on the bottom of that page. If you hadn't heard yet, Create registration is open. We are super excited to welcome kids back to the building back to our church building and gather and have fun and create. So if you haven't signed up your kids yet, please do. If you haven't signed up like your neighbors and friends and all the people, do that as well. But also if you would like to join in on the fun as an adult, even if it's just for one night or you have something you can help prep, whatever that is. It is July 11, 12, and 13. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evening. Whatever you can help with, we would love to know about it. So you can talk to me, you can talk to Lindsay, you can talk to Bethany, and Becky DeGraff as well, who is walking up. I just threw, hi Beck. She doesn't even hear me yet, but you can talk to her too, and we'll make sure we get you plugged in, all right? Also, you received an email this week from Chris on Friday about some news about CCGR, our sister church with whom we've shared that building for a number of years and with whom we've developed a really beautiful relationship. We are sad to say that they are closing their doors the end of this month, and that brings some questions for us, right? So a lot of that email was information that we know, but a lot there's still unknown. So if you have other questions after worship, when we have lunch today, there'll be a time that you can ask some questions. We don't have a lot of answers, but we have a lot of possibilities and ideas and wonderings. We're not going to sit and give you a 20-minute PowerPoint presentation about exactly what the next steps are, but we wanted to give you a space to voice anything that you are thinking as well, and maybe ask some questions that we haven't thought about yet. So we invite you to stay for lunch afterwards and have that conversation with us as well. That will not be all of lunch, I promise. There will be a time just to connect and to be with one another. That said, if you did not sign up to bring something for food today, I'm going to guess there will be plenty. So if you want to stay for lunch after worship, we would love to have you. If you feel the need to go grab something, Ken's is just down the road. You can go grab a bag of chips or something. But don't feel like you need to. We would love to have you stay for lunch right after worship. We'll clean this up, and then we'll set up for food. Okay? All right. My friend Claire Katarski has something she wants to tell us. You may have seen, if you were a part of that branch chat group, you saw Lisa post something that Claire is working on. Claire, would you like to come tell us what you're doing? Yeah. Awesome. Come on up. You can do it. But these are all people who love you.
Hey guys.
Hey.
So I am collecting personal care items for the AYA Youth Collective. So we're having a pride parade in our neighborhood on Friday, June 17th. I'm doing a great job, guys.
Yeah, you're doing it.
And they're at 7 o'clock, and there's going to be a box for personal hygiene items. And that's cool. Yeah.
Hey, Claire. Why did you choose the organization you chose?
My mom chose it, actually.
Truth.
And then I heard somebody at roller derby talking about it, so seems cool.
What do they do?
I don't know.
It's an organization. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
It's an organization that helps homeless youth. Yeah. Okay, I didn't even know that.
Awesome, you did great. Way to go, Claire. Claire will take any of your donations today or next Sunday. And if you have other questions, you can talk to Claire and Lisa. She knows a lot too. All right. We are going to shift into a time of celebration. Who finished school this week? I figured there would be much more cheering than that. There you go. Oh, the teacher, of course. One of the teachers is the loudest one. We wanted to take a moment to recognize that, oh my goodness, this was such a year, and you all plowed through it, and you're amazing and wonderful. But we know that there are some people who are making transitions this year. We celebrated our high school graduates a couple of weeks ago, but we wanted to make sure we talked about and we celebrated with those who are making other transitions. So, if you have graduated, are you all done? Is anybody still in school?
Yep.
All right, we're still in school in the back. All right, Krondikes, how long do you have to go? Thursday. You're so close. You're so close. I'm just going to celebrate with you on Thursday, okay? Good. All right, if you are moving from 8th grade to high school, would you stand up? I believe my son just rolled his eyes at me.
He's like, what?
That wasn't, okay, good. That wasn't epic. Good.
You're the worst.
You three are amazing and wonderful, and congratulations. What a big deal to finish middle school during a pandemic and move on to new and wonderful things. So congratulations. Stay standing up. We're just going to add to the pile, okay? You ready? If you are moving from elementary to middle school, whatever that is for your school, some it's 5th to 6th, some it's 4th to 5th. Who's moving from elementary to middle school? I know of at least 2. Congratulations. That comes with a lot of difference and moving, and you all finished out your elementary career during a pandemic and in a really hard year, and you did amazing. Way to go. All right, what about either preschool to kindergarten or kindergarten to 1st grade? Do we have any of those in here? Yay! I see 1, 2, there we go. Yay! Oh, congratulations. What a way to start your school career. You are amazing and wonderful, and we love you so, so much. All right. Friends who are standing up, can you just yell out a memory that you have of your school or something you're excited about going to your next school? Anybody got one? I should have warned you. I should have at least warned my own children. Or how about this? Is there an emotion that you're feeling with this transition? You can do it.
Probably like every emotion ever.
Every emotion ever. Yeah, I think that's about true. I say a lot. I'm feeling all the feels. Really? Poor shaking of heads. Yeah, there's a lot of emotion. So we wanted to take this chance to say, we love you, we support you, we're cheering you on in all of your transitions and in all of the things that you do. So, one more time, Branch, can we give them a big round of applause? Congratulations, friends. All right, now we can all stand up and go say hello to somebody. Maybe find one of those students and say congratulations, or find somebody you haven't seen in a while. Go say hello.
That was close. That was close. You know, when you set it up, is he driving officially? That would have been terrible. I've had it happen. I've had to be like, so sorry. She's like, it happened. So his
Friends, as you wrap up your conversations, you can make your way towards your seats, but before you do that, we're going to invite you to take like 30 seconds to go and find something on the ground, just a little piece of something, a leaf, a flower, a blade of grass, or something. Don't pull leaves out of the trees, or a branch, or whatever. So take a minute. Go grab something that you can hold in your hand, a piece of nature that you can hold in your hand. Ready, go.
Go, go, go.
Faster.
Some of our movie. Why some of your movie?
Elena just reaches down. I love it. Got one.
Hey, mission accomplished. Well done.
I see some flowers. I see some leaves. I see some sticks. Pieces of grass. Beautiful. All right, we are going to invite you to use that little item, a little tiny piece of nature, as a way to practice mindfulness together today. So, we are going to take a moment to breathe, to slow down, And that little whatever thing you have is the thing that's going to help us do that. To focus on that object, how it feels in your hands, what you notice about just holding it, what it feels like to hold that piece of nature. Mindfulness helps us to slow down and to pay attention and to root us in this time and this place and notice what's happening in this moment. So as you hold that object in your hand, I invite you to find a comfortable position. If you're on a blanket, you can even lay down. If you're in a chair, you can root your feet firmly in the earth beneath you. Let the chair, let the blanket, whatever you're sitting on, let that support you today. And if it's comfortable to do so, close your eyes or find a soft gaze on something beautiful around you. And again, if you're comfortable, acknowledge God's presence here with us this morning. I invite you as you sit to take 2 deep breaths, breathing in the fresh air and letting it fill your lungs. And now focus on that object in your hand. Notice what it feels like. Notice what it feels like to hold that object. Pay attention to any thoughts or memories that come to mind as you hold that. Let those thoughts simply be. Let them come and let them go just as freely. Notice any emotions you feel as those thoughts come and go. And notice how your body feels. From time to time, return to the object in your hands, reminding yourself that holding this thing is the only thing you have to do in this moment. And when you're ready, I invite you to return your attention to your breathing. Take 2 more deep breaths, offering gratitude for this time and this space. I invite you to slowly and gently bring your awareness back to this space, opening your eyes, wiggling your feet and your toe and your fingers. Scripture reminds us that all of creation proclaims God's glory. Creation sings God's praises. Kiddos, you're going to be dismissed in a bit, and you're going to talk a lot more about that today. It's easier to notice that creation sings God's praises out here than it is in a building, right? Even these small objects that we hold in our hands today proclaim God's glory. They tell us something of a good creator. We're going to play a song here in a minute that tells of God's glory in creation. We invite you to sit, to stand, to walk around, to dance, whatever is meaningful for you as you listen to the words. They are also on that liturgy that you handed out so you can follow along if you would like. Before we do that, let's speak the words of Psalm 96 that are found at the top of your liturgy. Would you join me in saying these? Let the heavens be glad and the earth rejoice. Let the sea and everything in it shout God's praise. Let the fields and their crops burst out with joy. Let the trees of the forest sing for joy before the Lord.
When I was young, you woke me with the sound of song. The wind and rhythm drew me along. I echoed in the hymn of the dawn. I turned and turned, this dance that all the planets learn, in circles round the stars as they burn. I praise you as I orbit and turn, declaring glory, glory, declaring glory, glory. The mountains rise, the forests grow before my eyes, the moments and the seasons in mind, then turn again, embracing the tide. The waters fall and carve their way across my soil, their canyons cutting deep in my soul. I praise you while the rivers still roll, declaring glory, glory, declaring glory, glory. New life begins, your creatures dance across my skin. Like me, they have your spirit within, but soon they fade away as I spin. They fall into dust and dress me in decay and rust. Their secrets buried deep in my crust. I praise you in the layers of dust, declaring glory, glory.
kiddos, if you are in preschool up to 4th grade, you are going to meet Sarah and Elena over here by this tree area, and you will come back to this group before we're all done here this morning.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. Hi. That song, in case you didn't see written in your little liturgy this morning, is on it's an album by the Porter's Gate. It's a brand new album, and I would highly recommend it. We're gonna, I think, be listening to a few songs here in the coming weeks. It's good stuff. So, in the beginning is this series that we're in here in the month of June. In the beginning, and I said last week that how a story begins is vitally important. It makes clear who is important, and it helps us understand what matters. And really, the beginning of a story sets the tone, the trajectory for the rest of the story. And one of the unmistakable patterns in the beginning of our story, which we find in Genesis 1, it goes like this. This is one of the patterns that we hear repeated in that first chapter. And God said, and it was, and God saw that it was good. And God said, and it was, and God saw that it was good. And God said, and it was, and God saw that it was good. Genesis 1 is a story of profound goodness. Light emerges where there was only darkness. Order is established where there was only chaos. God creates expansive and exponential life. There's unimaginable diversity and beauty that stops you in your tracks. And there's relationship in Genesis 1. Everywhere, among everything, there is connection and interdependence. 6 times, in fact, the text of Genesis 1 tells us that God saw that it was good. And at the end of Genesis 1, really actually at the start of chapter 2, when God has finished creating everything, we find God declaring that all of creation is very good. Again, Genesis 1 is a story of profound goodness, but this isn't goodness as in, hey, dinner tonight was pretty good. You know, that's not the kind of goodness when God looks and says, oh yeah, that's good. This is something much more. And I think maybe we get a clue of this if we tune into something that's going on in the text that we might not spot at first, or might not recognize it for what it means, and that's the use of 7 here. This is not like the Da Vinci Code sort of secret stuff that I'm now revealing to you. Sorry, I don't possess that knowledge. This is 7 is something in the ancient world, in the Near Eastern world, that would have just been common to have known and be understood as a number that represents completeness. So something is complete, it is whole, when 7 is involved. I don't know the history or how that came to be, the way that things were seen, but this was quite common. So of course in this story we have how many days? We have 7 days. That's an easy one to spot. There are also these 7 declarations of creation being good, 7 of those. 7 times in Genesis 1, God names something. And then we get into some other areas which, again, we wouldn't know unless we knew Hebrew and we're just, for the fun of it, counting. But, scholars point out that in verse 1, 7 Hebrew words are used. And at the 7th day, there are 35 Hebrew words used. 7 times 5 is 35. So not only is 7 a number of completion, but any multiple of 7 is viewed as that. And in fact, God's name is mentioned 35 times, 7 times 5. Again, this is not Da Vinci Code sort of stuff. This is just, oh, interesting. The writer here is trying to communicate something. Trying to certainly tell anyone in the ancient audience what's going on, what's happening. And we just may need to kind of get clued into it. That this is a story of completeness and wholeness. Goodness in that sense, in that fullest sense. God saw everything that God had made, and indeed, it was very good. Now, what God does next after that is quite interesting, I think. We've probably heard it before. We're still getting used to navigating paper in the windy conditions that we're in here. But you know what God does after God creates for 6 days? God rests. That's right. This is what it says in chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the 7th day, God had finished the work that God had been doing. So on the 7th day, God rested from all his work. And then God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Anybody here ever completed a big project? Anybody? At home, yes, some of you. Most of you, though, apparently have never completed a big project. Interesting. Okay, some more coming. What happens when you are done with this thing that's taken you maybe days or weeks or maybe months even? What is the feeling you have when the project is over, the work is done, and you are kind of standing back looking at it? How do you feel?
Yahoo!
That was awesome. Yahoo. Yeah, what else?
Nap time.
What's that? Nap time? Yeah, time to rest. Time to take a nap. Very good. Well, what's next? Yeah, we might kind of wonder, all right, so this is done. What are we going to do now?
Good.
It's good. Yeah. Hopefully, right? We get to the end of the project and go, it's good. Yeah. And not like, oh, dinner was good tonight. No, like, wow, this is really quite something. Yeah, I mean, there's a Yahoo-ness to it. I like that, Deb. That may be helpful here. I think we read about, God resting and then God blessing, and I don't know, does it feel dry to you? I don't know that it has to be. What if God Yahoos at the end of it all? What if God takes great delight and joy in looking at it and saying, wow, this is good? It's an interesting thought to think that God might be pleased or God might be delighted. And then one question I ask as I think about that is, well, what makes God pleased? Why is God delighted? Why might God Yahoo at creation? And I can't help but think that part of the reason why God might be delighted is because when God looks at creation, God sees just intricate through and through connections and relationship within creation itself. Everything in creation is a part of a web of relationship. On the one hand, nothing in creation can exist without God. We're all created beings who find our beginning in a creator, and nothing can exist without each other. This is such an obvious point, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think we forget. Everything in creation relies on everything else. Nothing exists without light. Can you imagine? But light alone isn't enough. And so God does something with the waters. And light and water are great, but they're not enough alone. And so there's land and earth and dirt. And that's great, but it's not enough. So then there's seeds and trees and plants that feed, and those are great, but they're not enough. There need to be animals to pollinate and help propagate. And so you see pretty quickly that everything in creation is reliant on everything else. Our very existence depends on our connections to each other. And this is how God seems to have designed it, to make everything inextricably linked together. And I think there are signs of just how connected we are everywhere. Have you ever noticed how much we talk about the weather as human beings? Why do we do that? This has always intrigued me. I suppose on the one hand, it's low-hanging conversational fruit. It's easy to talk about. It's something everyone can comment on. But I've always thought that there's something more going on. That the reason we're always talking about the weather is because we are creatures who are deeply and fundamentally connected to the creation. Or, stay with weather for a moment. Why is it that last Sunday, which you may remember or not, was really gray and rainy? Why do gray and rainy days make us gray and rainy? Inside, often. How is it that on the first warm day of spring, like your neighborhood erupts, and all of a sudden you realize people are actually living in this neighborhood as everyone's outside, moving around, energized, excited? Why does that happen? We know it happens. Why does it happen? I would say it's because we're deeply connected to creation. Or why, when you're near a beach, maybe on vacation, or if you're lucky enough to live near a lake shore, why at sunset does everyone flock to the beach? To see something we've seen 100 times? Why? Wouldn't that just get old? But it doesn't. Or maybe it does to you. I don't know. It doesn't to me, and it's just always intriguing when we're near a beach and all of a sudden there's just these throngs of people making their way to catch the sunset. Or you're out hiking and you come through a pass and you get this view that allows you to see for miles, and you stop. Why do you stop? Why do our road commissions build scenic overlooks on the highway? Why did we decide to invest tax dollars to create spaces for us to pull off the road and get out and look at something? Why do we do that? How is it that pets bring us joy and companionship? How is it that good food makes our mouth explode with delight? These are all things that are so everyday that maybe we don't ever think about why they happen, why they're true. And I'm suggesting to you that they are true, that these things happen, and so many other things, because we are deeply, intimately connected to creation. The world is a world where everything is inextricably linked, and not just in the sense of survival, although that's true, but also in the sense of delight and wonder. And yet, I think it has become easier and easier to forget our connectedness, to be disconnected from creation. Because today, someone could spend their entire existence living in a temperature-controlled environment, right? We flip a switch and we have light, no matter the hour, no matter what the sun is doing or not doing. We can travel enormous distances without ever interacting with the earth over which we move. Water comes out at the flip of a lever. Food arrives at our doorstep with the swipe of a finger. It's possible to go your whole life and never experience the joy of a harvest, or to think about the personal connection you have to the meat that you're eating. On and on it goes. And listen, I'm not trying to say that air conditioning is bad. You and I, if you have it, will have it on this week when it's 98 degrees, all right? And we will be thankful for it, and we should be. I'm not saying that cars are bad, or lights are bad, or that getting your groceries delivered is bad. That's not the point that I'm making, or that Genesis 1 is making. I'm not saying you should go and live in Northwest Idaho off the grid, right? If I say that that's what you should do, we're in cult territory, and you need to interact, okay? We need an intervention if that's what I'm suggesting that you do. Because that's not, when we're disconnected from creation, I think we potentially become disconnected from our call. We'll talk more about that next week. But the other possibility is that we actually become disconnected from God. I've got a quote there on that page from Henry Nouwen, who's a Catholic priest, professor, writer. I love Nouwen. He's been important to my development. He once said that the first language of God is nature. Think about that for a moment. The first language of God is nature. And that nature discloses itself to those with eyes to see and ears to hear what the great Spirit of God is saying to us. Wow. Now, Nouwen did not create this idea or come up with it on his own. He's just repeating what others before him have said and what Scripture itself declares. This is Psalm 19. The heavens proclaim the glory of God. The skies display his craftsmanship. Day after day they continue to speak. Night after night they make him known. For Nouwen, the question was this. Not is creation speaking to us, not does creation have something to say to us, but do we have eyes and ears to hear it? And then another quote on that sheet from Augustine, probably one of the most important theologians of his time. I don't always agree with Augustine, but I don't always agree with anybody, so hey. And Augustine, certainly, whether I always agree with him or not is unimportant. He just kind of factually was one of the most influential philosophers and theologians of his time. He wrote this. He said that God reveals God's self to us through two contemporary means, the book of nature and the book of Scripture. Isn't that interesting? That there are two books through which we learn about God, the book of Scripture and the book of nature. Now, all of my Christian upbringing, and I've had a lot, I've only heard about one book. And it's not that the communities that I grew up in were anti-nature. That's not it, really. But no one said to me, hey, Chris, if you want to know God, if you want to understand God, then you should read the Bible and go for a hike. No one ever said that to me. You should ruminate on the Scriptures and garden. No one ever said that to me. Learn about some aspect of creation, Chris. Take a walk through your neighborhood. Play in the park. Watch a documentary about the earth. Learn, understand, appreciate, study this book of nature, and you'll understand God. What's so interesting is that the Bible says that this is exactly what happens. When we study the book of nature, we get a glimpse of who God is. Romans 1:20 says this, since the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky, and through everything God made, they can clearly see God's invisible qualities, God's eternal power and divine nature. In other words, Stay connected to God's creation, and you will stay connected to the Creator. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, are you telling me that I have to move to Idaho and go off the grid? No, that's not what I'm saying. I want to be very clear. Nor am I saying that you have to become some, I don't know, what's the negative? Isn't this interesting? We kind of create these terms to criticize or critique people like tree huggers or granola-y people, right? I have no formula for you to follow about how to live this out. But I do think there might be something here for us to think carefully about for a moment. And what would it mean for us to study the book of nature, and in studying that book, become connected to the one who made all that we know and see? How might we do that? How might we study the book of nature? Well, there's maybe lots of ways to do it. I imagine there are. One might be to follow God's lead and to delight in something about creation. It might be as simple as taking a walk, but doing so with a purpose and with an intention. It might mean getting out of our conditioned spaces, or walking instead of driving, or learning more about the food that we eat, or growing some of our own food, or lots and lots and lots of options. One of these in my backyard. I've never looked at them closely until this morning. I've seen them lots. I've never looked at them closely, at least not closely enough to see this. It's hard with my eyesight. But if I work really hard, these intricate green little loops about 2/3 of the way down every petal. It's stunning, this very common, and from a distance, bland sort of white flower is wildly intricate. I want you to grab whatever you might need to grab, or if you don't have something in your hand, to just maybe look around or listen. Or smell. And then let me ask you, what does the thing that you're holding, or the thing that you're hearing, or seeing, or smelling, what might it tell you about God? What might it point you toward? What might it remind you of, or teach you about? One of the great gifts is that if you are a bit disconnected from creation, the good news is you do not have to go far to reconnect. The clover in your backyard. Shoot, you can just look out your window if that's all you have the time or ability to do. What do you see? Everywhere we look, there are these reminders, these incredible signposts, these gifts of creation that are proclaiming all sorts of things to us. And so as you keep holding this thing in your hand, or maybe thinking about something, we're going to invite you to both listen and sing with us. There's this song on the front side of your sheet, Abide in My Love. And what we're going to sing is actually just a part of that song. those 3 lines there. We've never sung this song before, so it's new. But we're going to repeat it lots of times. An undetermined number, but we know it's going to be a lot. And so even though you may not know it, you will know it pretty soon. The melody has a way of it's simple, has a way of just kind of working its way into you. And here's the invitation to sing. We certainly would love your voices to join ours, but also to listen or to reflect on the words and what they are reminding us and teaching us about. So this song is what Christians might call a sort of chant of sorts. Because again, we're just going to sing it over and over and over again. Because sometimes we need a lot of times and a lot of repetition to help us work something into our heart. So we're just going to do it here for the next number of minutes as the kids make their way back to us, and as Teresa unmutes the keyboard and things that are critical to this working. We invite you to join us however you'd like. With those words kind of hanging and ringing over us, we invite you to share in communion with us here. Another way of tasting the goodness of creation, quite literally. I'm going to need a little bit of help serving, though. I'd love to have 4 people who are willing to do it. Yeah, if you're willing, just come on up. I see some hands raised. If you're interested and able, would love to have you do it. I got 3. Oh, here they come. Here they come. Sure. Sure. The adults can just assist as needed or not. Yeah. Good. So what we'll have here, we'll have 3 people on this side serving gluten-free. So whoever's going to be the gluten-free person, you're going to hold the gluten-free bowl. And you won't have many people come, but there will be some very important people who will need to come. You'll be a very important person. And then someone will have the bread and someone will have the juice. And then 2 people will be over here with bread and juice. So if you need gluten, you'll come over to this side. And if that's not important, you can come over here. We're just going to invite you to come on up if you'd like to. But as always, know that communion here at the branch is not an expectation. In other words, that you must do this or that we're counting heads to see. Yeah, okay, we were waiting for you to come, Nick. Gosh, geez. So there's no expectation in that sense. It's simply an invitation, and not just from us, but from Christ himself, to come to his table and to taste and see that he is good. So we invite you to do that, to come and enjoy these gifts. When you come up, grab bread and cup, and then bring them back to your seat, and we'll enjoy them together along with those of you at home. So let's get our stuff ready, and then we'll serve, all right? I got this. Whenever you're ready, folks, come on up. And if you can say to them, this is the body of Christ. You scoop it? Perfect. What a gift that this practice we have, this rhythm and pattern, is good in the fullest sense of the word. It actually tastes good. That's a bonus, right? I mean, it's not horseradish and something else. That could have been the case, I suppose. It's good in that sense, but it's also good in the sense of completeness and wholeness. This is the promise of this meal, that where there's brokenness, things can be made whole again. That when love is poured out, something new can spring up in its place. So we claim those promises together. We celebrate the goodness of this meal as we take and eat this meal. And drink. Beautiful. That's how we're going to end our time together in terms of our practice here. Let me invite you to stand. I'm going to offer a blessing to you. Go ahead. And we know that for some you'll be heading on out, and that's, of course, perfectly okay and wonderful. If you're going to stick around, we do have a couple things happening afterwards. One, immediately afterwards, we'll have the opportunity to vote on a couple of new stewards. So that'll be the first thing we'll do right away. And then we'll move right from that into brunch here. And again, we'd love for you to stick around whether you were planning on it or not. So that's kind of the rhythm here in these next few minutes together. But let me offer this blessing to you this morning. You know, may you be people this week who are aware of your connection to the creation and to the Creator. And as that awareness grows, may you find gratitude growing. And may you find love growing and joy growing and delight growing. Be people connected again this week. Amen. Good to see everyone. If you got to head on out, have a great Sunday. And we'll take 30 seconds here or so and then reconvene and have that chance to affirm those new stewards. We do have a basket for the plastic communion cups. If you want to bring them up here, we'll put them in the basket and we'll recycle them back at the building. We'll All right, everybody. We'll just kind of do this here. I know some people are packing up and amiibo people. There you go. Yeah, that basket for the communion cups. Elliot's going to walk around with it like a true champion. Thank you, sir. So every year, right, there are two people who step down from the steward team because their term ends, and then we add two people to it. Lindsay's over here. Lindsay's term has come to completion. As of tonight, we have a steward meeting tonight, and it'll be Lindsay's last one, and we will weep and wail and dress in sackcloth. Her and Chris Frank are the two people who are stepping off this year. As their 3-year term has ended. And the nominations have been to Sarah Grushka and to Brian Workman. Brian to be a steward of resources and Sarah to be a steward of care. And we sent bios out this week, and just, you know, because you might not know who they are or you might not know them well. And so then this is the final step in the process where we just take a few minutes to see if anyone has any questions about their nominations, or maybe about stewards as a whole, or could really be anything. And then we take a vote and make it official one way or the other. So any questions, things you're wondering about, things, maybe this whole steward thing is still new to you and you're not really sure what we're doing, and there's something that we can explain here, or any questions about the nominations in particular that we're considering here this morning.
As of this week, if we need something, we connect to new people.
Oh, good question. As of this week, do you connect to the new people? You certainly could. Next Sunday, if they are affirmed today here now, then next Sunday during worship we'll officially install them. But sure, reach out to them ahead of time. I'm sure they would love it. I'm sure they would love it. And as of today, you cannot contact Lindsay ever again, right? Okay, yeah. Except for create. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, okay, that still is fair game. Okay. Good. I think generally, you know, the branch is always just really grateful that there are people who are willing to say yes. A 3-year commitment is no small thing. And so generally this time for us is just a chance to really say thank you to the people who have been serving, and we'll do that again next week in earnest. But to Lindsay and Chris, certainly to say thank you, bless you, and to affirm these 2 new people. So I'll just ask for this kind of chance to give your voice affirmation. All those in favor of the nominations of Sarah and Brian say yes. Yes. And anyone opposed to those nominations, please say no. They have henceforth passed. Yes. We bestow upon them and yada yada. Okay, good. Sarah is here today. Brian is not able to be here today, but he'll be here again next week when we kind of take that step of installing them. Beautiful. Thanks for sticking around to do that. So we're going to move into brunch. We got to tear down a little bit of sound equipment here. We'll take help if you can come and help us tear some things down. And then, are we eating in here? Yeah. We're going to do food on the pink